Shows love. Peace to the family. Situated. Peace, love and light. Welcome back. Peace, y'all. Peace. Greetings. Happy Saturn day. Y'all hear the birdies? That's a woodpecker. Peace and light. Yeah, man. Beautiful day. Hopefully it's beautiful wherever you are, wherever you're at in the world. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's beautiful wherever you are. Hopefully you woke up today, feeling inspired. Hear them sounds of nature? I just want to be quiet for a minute. Peace to the God. Yeah, that's nature. The weather is clever. All right. Out there in the forests where them animals live, they ain't bothering nobody. Perch high up there in the tree, you see the nests and all of that. Woodpeckers pecking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the beauty of the Most High, man. And look, I tell y'all on several occasions, you know what I'm saying, that I'm a city slicker. So I didn't grow up in like, you didn't hear nature where I was from growing up. We heard sirens, we heard screams, we heard arguments, and that has an impact on a person's psychological development, especially their nervous system. You feel me? So I come from environments where we have spiked cortisol levels, and we're far removed in those environments from, I think, like life's assignment. You know what I'm saying? Because when your cortisol is spiked, that's a testosterone disruptor. So we in those environments, and we be getting at each other. It's very toxic environments, and because we were raised around white Western psychology, if you will, right? And the marketing that goes along with that will have you believe that masculinity or manhood is tied into aggression, right? So those environments reflect that, right? They're very aggressive, and you're taught that, you solve problems or issues, by fighting or shooting it out. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of diplomacy involved, because diplomacy is masculine, and fighting and being like flying off the cuff, you know what I'm saying, crashing out, that's feminine. Warfare is feminine, right? I've tried to show y'all this even esoterically. I've tried to point it out. If you pull out a dollar bill and you look at the eagle, right, you'll see that the arrows are in the left side of the hand of the eagle, the left path. That's dealing with the feminine, right? In the right hand, it's an olive branch, and that deals with diplomacy. So even if you look at the flip side of even what you're seeing in politics, they're attempting to tell you that what Trump and them did to Zelensky was an act of masculine dominant behavior, and it's not an act of masculine dominant behavior because there was no diplomacy involved. You know what I'm saying? There's no diplomacy involved. You're looking at an extreme of masculinity that may be not borderline toxic. The shit is at an extreme. You know what I'm saying? It's an extreme. It's not centralized. It doesn't necessarily come to a place in the center where it makes sense. Anytime that you see somebody overdoing something, they're overcompensating for something that's not there. So they, for people, for an administration, for a populace of people that come across and appear to be so anti-feminine, they are extra feminine because they lack all diplomacy. What Trump is doing with the art of the deal, that's not divine masculine. That's not divine masculine. He's using a bluff game, a 52 fake out, and he's causing confusion. Like, you flip the table, like when Jesus went allegedly into the temple and he flipped the table of the money exchanges, and then people want to talk, right? After you turn up, then you have an opportunity to reset the room, and that's the level of diplomacy that they're involved in right now. It doesn't mean that they got more cards, as they say. It means that they're disruptive, and they know how to triangulate a situation and make it seem like it's in their favor. You know what I'm saying? But it's not the masculine approach. The masculine approach is straight up, respect. Like, we can be diplomatic because we got mutual respect. Both of our cards are on the table and we have an understanding. Anytime that you devolved into name calling, finger pointing, or chest beating, then that's not necessarily masculinity. But they're able to pull it off, right? Mask it and pull it off in front of the population, because when's the last time niggas seen a man, right? When's the last time that a population, a demographic has been exposed to a level of masculinity that was, and when I say divine, I mean more so like balanced, right? You're not gonna, where you seen that at? Right? What we see in Africa with the young brother, right, from Burkina Faso, that's masculine. That's masculinity. Right? That's a proper Leo aspect, because he's being a servant to the people. And a king serves the people. A king is not a person who has the most amount of servants. A king is the highest servant to the people. You know what I'm saying? Not the person that has the most amount of servants. You dig what I'm saying? Not a cult leader. And that's what Trump is. He's a cult leader. He has a cult. He doesn't have a movement. He has a cult. He has a cult full of zealots. Right? And and they call the nigga daddy. They call the nigga daddy. So if that don't tell you everything that you need to know, right? And again, it's a differentiation based on how black men lead in family, which we have been so far removed from as a people that we don't even remember what it looks like, right? I happen to have been raised in a household by a father, so I'm very much reminded, right? It was very much a experiential experience. So I never forgot what it was like. You know what I'm saying? And true fatherhood, the respect was already there. So he didn't always have to come around and reinforce the respect factor. He just had to remind you of why he was being respected and what happens in the absence of respect. You know what I'm saying? And that was enough for you to snap back. And the minister, yeah, I would say that, right? Our brother Minister Farrakhan. Let me say this. I had met Farrakhan, I think it was 06. So this was 06, it was a year before I become the Blue Pill. Ironically, a year before I meet Malcolm Shabazz, who is Malcolm X's grandson. So in 06, I met Farrakhan in Harlem on 129th. I think it was 6th Avenue, 6th or 7th. I believe it was 6th Avenue. Shout out to Red. He just popped in. Red, what was that block that the church was on across the street? Because Red lived on 129th. The church was on 127th. And that was Linux, I believe, right? Anyway, it was a church, and he came to address the people, right? He came to address the nation, really, his own people, because he was coming back from Mexico and he had an experience with he wanted to tell his story about the mothership, about the wheel in Mexico, him having contact with the wheel on top of a pyramid in Mexico, and his people were ready to receive this message. And this is not up for debate, y'all. Don't argue or push back with me. Shout out to the nation. I got love for you, brothers and sisters. But when the minister was talking about craft in the early 2000s, even the mid 2000s, y'all wasn't ready for that conversation. Shout out to Wesley Muhammad. He's just gotten y'all kind of ready, and I'm hearing a different conversation. But let me get back to the basics. When I met the minister, right? Remember, my grandfather was the minister's teacher in music, calypso, before the minister met Elijah and became Louis Farrakhan, right? When he was a calypso player, he was my grandfather's student. So he never forgot my grandfather, and every time he would come to Harlem, he would piece him off. He would take care of him. He would see him and stuff of that nature. So my grandfather brought me along with him. And you know, Farrakhan called my grandfather to the stage so he can admonish praise on him in front of the nation. And my grandfather got up there and he was like, you know, I'm an old man. You know, I lived my life. I've done it all. I don't necessarily need your eyes on me or your protection. He's like, but my grandson is out here in these streets. So he called me to the stage, and you know, he told the nation, if you're gonna look out for me, look out for my grandson. You know what I'm saying? And he introduced us to them, and I knew the majority of them. You know what I'm saying? But I had an opportunity to meet Farrakhan for the very first time in person, and I shook his hand. And Farrakhan had the softest hands I ever felt. Now I got soft hands, right? People tell me that I got hands that feel like baby hands or what have you, right? But I'm not gonna out. But I don't have to, because that's not masculine, right? The diplomacy aspect of it is that if you know that I'll knock you out, then we should be able to do business and not result into warfare or violence, which is feminine. You know what I'm saying? So there's a respect there. So I got hands that feel like my sis was just in Palmolive and I was washing dishes for 20 years out of my 50 years on the planet, whatever. I shook Farrakhan's hands, and his hands were softer than mine. And I was like, oh shit. And it was his hands were very smooth, but they were very light. It's almost if almost like they was on the body of somebody that weighed 5 pounds. But I seen him in the gym, so I know that he's a power lifter. Shout out to Farrakhan, shout out to his son, shout out to his grandson. I lifted with Elijah in Miami, and I remember that was in 2020, I think. He outlifted me. I wasn't ready for that shit. I gotta go back. I gotta spin the block and get my name back. But I remember that session. Yeah, I definitely got outlifted, right? And not competitive. We're not competing. It's not a competition. You in the gym, you pushing whoever you with to their best. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't my best day at you know. So anyway, back to the story. Farrakhan. Soft hand, Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? Soft hands. Barack Obama, extremely soft hands. Farrakhan, extremely soft hands. Has nothing to say about the person, right? Just like myself, I don't think the fact that I got soft hands don't make me soft. But it's the diplomacy part, right? That these men that come across to have soft hands, right, demand a level of respect that you would attribute maybe to somebody who had hands of steel, right? for whatever that means is that if somebody got hands of steel and there's a level of fear involved that may mistranslate to respect to some respects. You know what I'm saying? You can think twice about it, like, God damn, I might not want to get in a fist fight with this person, or I might not want to upset this person. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying about a Farrakhan is that he still demands that level of respect, right? So let me translate that into U.S. policy, right? U.S. foreign policy was always walk light and carry a big stick, right? I didn't see the Obama Anthony Edwards clip, no. Yeah, so somebody said it perfectly. Shout out to Aura in the Light. I do stress therapy. The strongest men mentally have softest hands and in the field. Yes. So it's the strong mentalism. I've seen Barack Obama, again, regardless of what we feel about him, regardless of what y'all say about his wife or any of those things, he had to have an unprecedented amount of diplomacy to be in politics. Now that you see how much they really hate you, now that you see what they really feel about you, imagine what they was shooting his way. Imagine what his State of the Union energy was like. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember that shit. They was coming at him left and right. So he had to be very diplomatic in order to pivot all of that racism, right? And again, regardless of... Anyway, I ain't even gonna get into it. It's like, you gonna pay... Nothing. Forget it, man. I don't even want to talk politics anymore. This shit is so weird out here. And it's almost like people that look like me miss the whole point, and they in their feelings. And goddamn, like, we can't even have a conversation these days. So I'm just keep certain things to myself. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. He represented such of a threat. He represented such a threat to white America that they're still pushing back. That he triggered their fragility because of the fear of what they thought about a melanated man that could potentially go radical, right? That shit kept them up to 3 a.m. You feel me? That they are aggressively fighting back and pulling back and pushing back, and they're tearing down all of the wallpaper because they don't want to be reminded of those 8 years, because it was terror for them mentally, dealing with their fragility. But for you saying, oh, the nigga didn't do this for me, he didn't do that for me. Symbolically, what did he represent? What did he represent for your children? If again, and it brings me to tears, right? I be watching the children looking at Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance. There's a whole like viral, TikTok thread clip of babies standing in front of the mirror, the TV. I watched my nephew. My nephew's gonna be 5 in April. He be doing he mimics the entire performance, but it's certain parts that are favorites of his. I watch these little girls that are looking at SZA, right? A heavily melanated young woman who was, for the most part, dressed up in her performance. The dancers dressed up, and they're mimicking the behavior of the people that they're looking at. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, damn. So this is how they was acting when they was looking at Cardi B. This is how when the babies stand in front of the TV and look at Meg Thee Stallion. This is how they act. Cause these little niggas that's off they rockers, right? The ones that's crash out, they was in baby seats and 6 months old, and their parents had on DMX, right? DMX is murder music. That's not a nigga that you should be playing for your children. Let alone yourself, if you're not motherfucking mentally fortitude enough to differentiate entertainment from life instructions. So I'm looking at these babies and I'm seeing how they're mimicking the behavior of people who they look up to, right? especially the people that's on TV. And I'm just scratching my head, and I feel so late that I'm like, damn, this is what these babies have been undertaking for 20 years. Yes, this is what I was undertaking for 15 or 20 years out of my life, because hip hop wasn't totally ratchet, in the earlier days when I was growing up. The golden age was golden, right? And we can go through the whole process of when it deviated and went off the rails or what have you. Matter of fact, let me get into some of this real quick, if I got it in front of me. So I'm just reminded of the duty of a content creator, artist, or even what's considered to be like a role model, somebody that other people's children are looking at. You know what I'm saying? And even with me, it'd be like a person that people's parents be looking at. Because I be meeting grandparents. I be meeting people that be like, young man, I grew up during this age and I grew up during this era. You feel me? And they be like, I'm so thrilled to see, young men such as yourself picking up the mantle and keeping the flame lit and this, that. So I get emotional. I be like, God damn, because I know what went into the making of my mind in the initial stages and phases when I was growing up in the household. Specifically, I can't say with my mother and my father, and they both were able to pour in different inspirations, different information that inspired in different ways, but all of it was to rebel against the system to some degree. All of it was to rebel, right? My father taught me how to rebel a little bit more careful than my mother. My mother was just radical. You wouldn't think that Mama Pill would be more so the radical one, but she was fighting against the medical industry. She was fighting against Fauci since 1980 something. The feds, when they snatched her up for that case with Sabi, they told her if she didn't turn states, if she didn't snitch, they was gonna make her children's life a living hell. She's like, my children are only 10, so this had to be 1985. I grew up when I got in trouble. I got knocked. I was 19, and I went to trial. I had a bench trial, meaning that the judge was the judge, right? There was no jury, and I blew trial. This was in Virginia, and they brought the FBI to my case, right? And the FBI had a file, and the FBI file on us was this big, and the FBI went through all of the stuff that they knew about us up until that point. Everything that I thought that I had got away with, everything that I thought they did or shouldn't know, they knew. They had a whole folder. I was just 19. So, these people is diabolical, and the shit that they're willing to do in continuance of these programs that they started, to stop the rise of black messiahs and to monitor people who are for their people. You know what I'm saying? And I've just always had it in my best interest to say, like, the only reason that somebody should be rebelling against any system is that the system is not doing what the system promises to do, right? Or the people connected to that system are at a detriment. And yeah, our people were at a detriment, So what we're exposed to is very much has an effect on, what we ultimately become. You know what I'm saying? Our thoughts and our mentalities, the decisions that we make, the things that we prioritize in life. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. I never saw like a drug dealer that inspired me. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, I just never was impressed by that type of stuff. Like, I wasn't into cars that much because I lived in New York and I liked going on a train to see graffiti. So niggas pull up in the whips and everything, but it wasn't that impressive because I was never a driver. So I didn't get churned out by niggas with shiny rims and white walls on their tires. That just wasn't my paradigm. You know what I mean? Like, I was in St. Croix for younger parts of my life. I'm like, nigga, you got a boat? You got a yacht? You got a yacht? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, a car? Yeah, I'm not going to throw my morals out to get a vehicle. Plus, again, I lived in New York. I'm like, where am I park it at? So it wasn't aspirational for me. And it was like, all right, you got gold on your neck. I could look and see that shit was 14 karat. I knew what 14 karat was as a child. I knew that wasn't pure gold. Because I would go uptown to where the white folks was at. Then you go to Canal Street. And Canal Street got different jewelry than when you go to downtown Brooklyn. But when you go to Saks Fifth Avenue, nigga, that shit looked at, and my mother would take us to maybe some of the highest establishment spots because she was getting her mind right about some of the shit that she had wanted to get that she wasn't able to get back then. And my father too. My father, he exposed us to a lot of that stuff uptown. So I was just like, I ain't impressed. I'm not going to start selling crack to get none of this stuff, right? Thank God that I wasn't raised in abject poverty where I felt like I was totally out of the mix. And then just being raised around a level of rebelliousness and militance, I wasn't really that capitalist driven. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to put a dent in the system as a youngster because of the shit that I was told that they did to my people. Right? So when I started boosting, that to me was retail reparations. I was able to outwit them, beat them at their own game, take our shit back, right? And if it got physical, then we was able to take some of our pain out on the security, the police, and whoever, right? But that was the anger that was in me as a youngster. And then, of course, then we playing Robin Hood because these niggas are selling crack to go and buy $400 knitted polo sweaters. Or they getting their mama to do it, and that's even worse because she worked 3 jobs. So here we go, and it's like, you could get this sweater for $200. Oh, they love the kid now. All of a sudden, I'm getting invited to everything. All of a sudden, I'm getting all of the treats and the favors. All of a sudden, niggas' aunties want to date the kid. And then we never had to look back because we was more popular than the drug dealers because the drug dealers had to come and see us because you couldn't come to Tilden, Biltmore, any of the dance hall parties. You couldn't come to the Tunnel, the Palladium. You couldn't come nowhere where we was at and let us outdress you. You know what I'm saying? Because you could jump out of any vehicle that you want, nigga. When we inside of that building, niggas is looking to see what you got on. And if you jumping out the whip dressed like a goofy, they might shoot your whip up. I'm dead serious. Niggas took an offense to the fact that if you ain't know how to pull your shit off and you looked like you was a UFO nigga, nigga might kill you just for not getting it right. And as extreme as that seems, my nigga, this is the environment that we grew up in New York where, again, because of the lack of masculinity, it was microaggressive femininity, right? You know what microaggressive femininity is? And again, I exploited some of these things, but psychologically, I knew enough to know what I was looking at and dealing with. A nigga get a scuff on his Timberlands or his Air Force Ones and he want to kill you. That's, again, if you can appreciate what I'm explaining to you about young men that grew up in households that were not exposed to diplomacy, meaning masculinity or divine masculinity, and only femininity, which, right, warfare is feminine, popping off is feminine, crashing out is feminine. And again, I'm talking energetically. This is not an attack on women. We're speaking about energy, right? Masculine energy and feminine energy. Masculine energy is diplomacy. feminine energy is warfare. So a nigga get a scuff on his Nikes, or a nigga get scuff on his construction boots. Timberlands are made to scuff. They're work boots. You get a scuff on your Timberlands and then you don't wear them no more and you go and buy 2 or 3 more pairs. Nigga, that's not only feminine, but now we're engaging in what's considered to be crass commercialism, right? We're overindulging. So niggas was selling crack, and then you go downtown Brooklyn and the Koreans put discounts on the sneakers. So the Asics that you would buy for $90, now you could get 2 for $150. So niggas is getting 4, right? And then they're falling into rugged individualism, because prior to us selling drugs and hustling, if Red needed to wear my shirt, right? We shared a shirt. We shared pants. If we had to share sneakers, we would do that. So it was more of a sense of community, right? The minute that hustling and crack cocaine and all of that stuff gets introduced, automatically it creates a demarcation between you and community. It's me and my niggas. It's us versus them. It's no big three, it's big me, right? So it's like, nigga, you got to get your own sneakers. You got to get your own shirt. I'm stunting. Yeah, I got 8 pair of sneakers and you can't wear none of them now. You feel me? Oh, not even the ones that got the scuffs on them. They just in the room, taking up space, right? And I got a shoebox full of money to go and buy 10 more sneakers that I desire to always have. That's why they brought the retro shits back, for the niggas who missed the bus. Yeah. I think Kendrick said, you with a nigga who think he's badder, he look badder than you. You with a nigga that be in the mirror making pout lip faces and shit like that, taking selfies like in the bathroom doing pout lips and shit like that. Them Drake ass niggas, you with them type of niggas. Right? These are the type of niggas that our people are producing, unfortunately. Because again, like I said, being raised in those environments, they're naturally gonna be, do you have naturally more affinity to the energy that you are exposed to, right? Where a man is gonna tell you, he gonna show you how to refurbish them shoes 100 times over. He's gonna show you how to get those shoes repurposed. He's gonna show you how to get your soles redone. He's gonna show you how to clean that shit. He's gonna show you how to spick and shine it if necessary. He's not gonna keep telling you, throw that in the corner, go and sell some more crack, and then when the Koreans open the store at 9 a.m., here you are, and you walking out of there with 10 boxes of sneakers. Nigga, not only did I live through this in the 80s and the 90s, but when we was in Harlem on 125th Street, right? 125th Street is the most economic artery in New York. Meaning that they said, and came out of the Daily News, they said that the strip that makes the most money in New York is 125th Street, not Fifth Avenue, not Madison Avenue, not Lexington Avenue, not Broadway, not Wall Street. Nigga, they said 125th from one river to the next. Do you know what the number one thing that they sell on 125th is? Sneakers. And not even official sneakers, because Nike don't sell to mom and pops, nigga, if you didn't know that. Nike don't sell to mom and pops. It's only like 3 official stores on 125th. You got a Foot Locker. You got a Dr. J's, right? And you got a Champs. The rest of them shits is mom and pops, but they sell so many sneakers on 125th that 125th Street is the core and cheap jewelry, right? They sell sneakers and 10 and 14 karat gold and hair products. And they sell more product, allegedly, in the city of New York than any other strip. This is according to the Daily News. They said 125th was the main economic artery in the city that sold the most amount of products. Right? Yeah, Atmos, they're probably definitely, they got real sneakers and stuff like that. But a lot of these vendors, they deal with secondary vendors because they can't get directly from Nike. So this is the shit that falls off of the back of the truck. Literally, you'll see them, they pull the trucks up when it's release day. They'll come with the trucks and they'll, you see them motherfucking the boxes. Them boxes come from China, nigga. So they're selling bootleg as well. They get some shit that falls off the back of the truck, but they got the top brand, the top tier bootleg shit that comes from China, and they sell that on 125th in all of the sneaker stores. You know what I'm saying? So, again, this is just proof evidence that our people, for whatever reason, have devolved into a level of femininity that is very hard to bring them back from. You know what I'm saying? And it's crass commercialism. And look, even myself, like I got more clothes than I could possibly wear, right? That's feminine. You know what I'm saying? You should have like a few fits like our elders did. Now I ain't even gonna say our ancestors, our elders. Niggas ain't have 4 and 5 wardrobes and shit like that. That's unprecedented and it's unnecessary. It's just crass commercialism. It's just too much. Right? It's too much. Like, I got more clothes than I care for. It just don't make no sense. And I be trying to get them shits away. You know what I'm saying? I be trying to give them shits away. And then I just get more. Clothes find their way to me. I don't even be looking for them. I just put in so much work in the clothes game that I attract cloth. Yeah. But yeah, that's dealing with crass commercialism. If I was purchasing those clothes, you know what I'm saying? I don't have nothing to account for it, like, other than some goddamn clothes. It's just too much. I don't need 10 pair of sneakers. You know what I'm saying? I got like 20 pair of shades. Then you know how much jewelry I got? This shit don't make no sense. Like, I could open a museum. And now I collect jewelry. I like jewelry. I like my jewelry because it's very expressive and I could tell stories about each one of my pieces. But I got way too much. You know what I'm saying? I have more than enough. And it's an overindulgence. And these are femininity factors. You know what I'm saying? These are femininity factors. I know the shit that I got to deal with. And I'm like a hoarder at this point. I collect shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's nostalgic. It's nostalgic, so I collect shit. I love having the memories. I love all of these pieces of articles, whether they be clothing or music or jewelry. They all have a story, you know what I mean? And I'm a slave to the story. You feel me? I just get caught up in narrative. So I surround myself with things that remind me of things that I love to mentally engage with. You know what I'm saying? I be in my own world. Yeah, I be wanting to throw shit away, but then I feel bad, so I want to give shit away. You know what I'm saying? But I have done giveaways, and we've announced it that people didn't come and shit, and one person to come and get 15 pieces. I don't want to do that either. It's like I want to evenly distribute things to people that actually need the stuff that we have. That's just too much. I got more than enough. And I'm sure that somebody can utilize just things that we have that we don't use. You know what I'm saying? So we can bring a lot of equanimity to our circumstance. Equanimity to our circumstance. You feel me? Like, if you had some of the things that you needed, maybe you wouldn't dislike the people that have more than you have, type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Equanimity to our circumstance. So, for whenever we do our next event, and we're planning on the next event very soon. Yeah, shout out to AA. I've been to the museum in California. He got enough stuff in there too. Shout out to AA. That's a very thorough, nostalgic museum. But next event, or maybe we'll announce a day and the family can come pull up on us at one of these venues that we populate at the bookstore or something like that, and you can get some of this stuff because it's too much. And I prefer, like, if there's women out there and you got children, young men, right? Come and get some stuff for them. Come and get, especially single mothers. Come and get some stuff for free. Free 99. You can search through the drip and come and bring some of it to Junior. Put a smile on Junior's face. You feel me? And hopefully he don't think that he's too fashionably forward and be like, nah, I don't fuck with that, ma. That's that old head shit. Like, hopefully he's very receptive, respective. And look, man, I'm gonna do something. No, it's free. Free with a donation. You know what I'm saying? Free with a donation. If we can get y'all to do something extra, like pick up trash, random acts of kindness, right? Something that translates into something where you can pay it forward, right? You don't have to pay me in physical fiat. Do something deliberate. You know what I'm saying? Do a deed. Cook a plate, and then we can feed it. We can get the food to the homeless people. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's figure it out. We could do it like that. Or you could bring me seeds, and I can plant food. Right? That would be dope. We can barter in exchange for seeds. And I'm not expecting you to come with $100 worth of seeds. You could come with $10 worth of seeds and walk away with $100 piece of clothing. Right? That's very equitable. Feel me? It's just to make it make sense. Right? To make it make sense. We're going to have to be very resourceful as a people going forward. Right? Regardless of what you feel or think about where the world is headed. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to become resourceful. We're going to have to barter. We're going to have to figure out new ways to do business. And we're going to have to become a lot more communal. Rugged individualism is just going to look weird because there's a lot of people hurting. You know what I mean? And to stunt in the face of people that's hurting because they didn't necessarily make the shift. Like, the shit that's hurting me is that our people are not latching on to the AI the way that they should be, at the pace that they should be. They're not really understanding that there's devices out there that will aid and assist in the heavy lifting. They're not understanding that the universe has answered your prayers, and you was asking for relief. You was asking, for shit to be, for the playing field to be equalized because it was so unbalanced. And technology has equalized a lot of things that were unequal, that were unbalanced. And we're not moving at the pace for people who really need this technology. The individuals that are going to weaponize and utilize technology against you, they don't even need it. You know what I'm saying? They got think tanks already. They already are unified and mobilized. They got more resources than you, right? And I would dare say that they may be more intelligent than you. And I'm only saying that because, intelligence is knowing when to stick together, why to stick together, who to stick together with. Like that. That's a large part of intel, right? Intelligence is knowing when to strike. Intelligence is you know what I'm saying? Knowing or having analytics on your adversary to know, you know what I mean? When is the most dynamic time to press up against them. So intelligence is being in alignment with the universe where things just automatically work in your favor, and it seems to work a lot more easier because you're in alignment. Right? And as much as people are pointing fingers at this administration and talking crazy about it, I'm like, I'd be damned if the nigga didn't show up in alignment with somebody's agenda. He showed up in alignment with somebody's agenda, and it appears like this shit is working in his favor because he's in alignment with a particular agenda. And the universe is calling for radical change because we are going through Pluto and Aquarius. So Pluto and Aquarius said that there's going to be destruction of institutions, right? Dissolvement of institutions, radical change, unexpected radical change, an upending of social orders. Everything that we said cosmologically that this particular time period is templated for, they have a fulcrum of energy. They have an individual who's willing to push the necessary buttons and levers to make this destruction take place, and we in our feelings, right? Even though we weren't going to be the one to do it, we said that it was going to happen and it had to be done, but we weren't going to be the one that does it. But here, this situation, this individual is in that seat and he's doing it, and it makes us feel very uncomfortable, myself included. I'm not just pointing fingers, right? I know better, and I'm still reacting. I know better, right? It was already told to me how this shit was gonna play out. Shout out to Ross Ben. He already gave us the script, and he said that, you know, the dude is not gonna be stopped this year, and that's a problem. Because if you're not able to put a hiccup in the program in the first 100 days, you can forget about it, right? You can forget about it. And I was speaking to a friend, and I'm just like so surprised that I'm like, you don't see where this thing is going? And this friend of mine, she's MAGA, right? She fell over into the MAGA thing. She got absorbed into it. Because, again, the thing that I've, attempted to express, peace, my brother, the thing that I've attempted to express with you on numerous occasions is that, especially consciousness, I can't speak too much for the woke shit, right? Because I'm not woke. I'm not part of the woke shit. I research and I study it, but I really would have to interview somebody from that ideology. And they lean towards the democratic sort of thing, like progressives. They're progressives, like left-leaning liberals. These are the Jews that profiteer in porn, right? They're secular Jews. They're just Jews by names. They don't really practice any religion. So they're not conservative. They're progressives, right? They're taking advantage of the gang that they belong to, if you will. So that's how niggas is. They find themselves as probably a little bit more woke that you would consider, or that more so that you would consider conscious. Consciousness deals with conservatism, right? That's why they try to say the Hotep niggas is parroting right-wing talking points. Not necessarily. They have a shared mutual respect for conservatism, right? Melanated people, in essence, are more conservative because what? We mainly come through a vein of Christianity. 85% of melanated people identify as Christians, right? So Christianity, at its essence, is going to be more conservative because it's based on family values. And family values are something that's very stringent, right? We do it we do it missionary. You know what I'm saying? We do this, we do that. This shit is, right? It's pretty much templated and fixed, and is tied into tradition, right? So that's what you will see with the right, the radical right, right? Or right right-wing nationalists. They're tied into tradition, right? Conservation deals with not wasting. A conservative republic is somebody who's looking to preserve and the traditional way of life of doing things, right? So again, consciousness will pretty much more so be on the middle road to that, right? And I've, the best way that I've attempted to explain consciousness is it's like a secret society, right? There's so many stringent rules that go into consciousness that is not very inclusive. It's not very inclusive. It's not open for everybody to be included. When I was coming up in consciousness, you couldn't be part of it if you was the police. You couldn't be part of it if you was like a sorority person. You couldn't be part of it if you was LGBT. You couldn't be part of it if you was the church. You couldn't be part of it, nigga, if you ain't hang out on 125th Street for the most part. You wasn't part of the core of it. And then when you got to 125th Street, then you had to have a duel to the death to see who could fit in the whip, because it's only like 5 people that could fit in there. Okay? So consciousness became so consecrated and so conservative that they had to create this offshoot of it considered woke. Now, woke and the concept of woke started around, let's say 2010. Let's say with the rise of Umar and Polite. Interestingly enough, both of these brothers is Leos, right? And their rise coincided during the reign of Obama, who was a Leo, right? So Obama's the woke president. He opens the gates to LGBT, right? He blends the lines, and they utilize civil rights as a vehicle and an apparatus now to kick down as a battering ram to bring in the last vestige of people who was outside of the gate, which is the LGBT. Because the immigrants already came. The Africans came, the Caribbeans came, the Indians came, the Asians came. All of that was off the back of civil rights, right? Because they left a back door open, and it was an all-inclusive policy. Because niggas did not know how to, put a period on a sentence and close the door. So everybody got in. Obama comes, so all of the maligned groups, any and every, you want to know what's the malign, anything that's not white male, nigga. So whether that's white woman, black woman, Chinese woman, Asian women, women, period. Asians, Indians, right? All of the people that's belonging in the global south. Go look up the global south. That's the third world, right? Or global south is everything not white. Right? And then they shitting on Europe now. They like, nah, we don't even fuck with y'all. Y'all are compromised. We don't even want to be part of y'all. So if you're not white Western male, right, this is the they not like us party. You feel me? Everybody else is they if you're not us. And they're rebranding the U.S. to be us. And what's us? White, male, Western ideology, or WASP, white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. Male. Right? So, where was I going with this? When we speaking about the parameters of what woke encompasses versus consciousness, right? And then there's a sliver of a space in between it. This the Hotep niggas. And again, unfortunately, with the rise of a Umar and the rise of a Polite, they break out of consciousness in 2010, 2011, 2012, and they're the first ones who break through the mold, right? But when they get on the national stage and they get exposed to the larger population of melanated people, they get branded Hotep niggas, right? They get put in that pocket, and then they break free of it, but then they open up this whole quote-unquote paradigm for what's considered to be woke. Now, the way that I gauge it, woke started, to me, in 2012 post-Trayvon Martin. When melanated people responded, right? And you seen Black Twitter, right? You seen young millennials and black women with forceps in their nose and shit like that, but they was part of communities that was not necessarily consciousness. They had college educations. They went to HSBCUs, right? My girl got a girlfriend type shit. You feel me? The women was at the front line in front of police face. This was the whole new rebranding, and then they brought in D-Ray and these niggas, the dude that had the blue vest on. So this is Ferguson, and now you get up to Ferguson and shit like that, right? Twerking in front of police at the protest. Woke shit. They couldn't get niggas to get off of 125th. Because they would never go to a protest. They would never show up in the appearance of continuance of civil rights. Niggas would never get on camera and do an interview with the news and shit like that. So consciousness is a fringe group that don't want to fuck with the rest of. Okay? And then you got Umar and Polite going on national stage, right? Remixing this shit for their own personal benefits. These niggas is Leos, right? So you get the rebranding of leadership in the community when it's about the individual and not the community, where the niggas using the community as as a marketing tool to push their own personality and individualism in the social media era, right? During the reign of a Leo president. And you can look at it however you want to look at it. I've always said that just like Obama, his reign comes to an end, the Trump administration comes and devours any fucking sign, semblance, or evidence of an Obama administration. That's what Trump came to do. The same way that, remember, Obama's doppelganger in passive, and this is for my niggas who grew up on the internet in 2010, 2012, and if the birth of the, because there's a woke left and there's a woke right. Let's be clear, right? White folks is talking about their MAGA is woke right. They talking about banging on woke, but they woke too, and both of them shits is born out of conspiracy theories. So the conspiracy theory that the woke right was born out of was birthers and truthers. Birthers is the community that came out of the Tea Party that said that Obama wasn't a national citizen because he got a Kenyan birth certificate. That's where Trump came from. Now I'm giving you niggas an education that you should have been had. They're not going to teach you this in school, unfortunately. But this is how the shit happens. Okay? Trump is brought in there to do away with all of evidence of Trump because that triggers the fragility of white America, who felt that everything that they was taught about themselves was a lie, right? And their privilege has been revoked. And everyone is making advances because of them. So they got into the replacement theory. They became the victim. Right? And what was I saying? I remember I was saying something. I was going to the conspiracy theories. All right, they was born out of birthers. Umar and Polite, Obama, Leos, the reign Leos. Okay, so in the conspiracy realm of the white right, the esoteric white right as well, they were saying that Obama was the Antichrist. And they were saying he was the Antichrist because they were saying he was the return of Akhenaten. Now, don't tell me that I sound fucking crazy. You niggas could get on your phones and do the Google search. These are the conversations that were taking place in spaces and places that you may not be familiar with because they wasn't on Front Street. But this is the backstreet ideology that baked into eventually what becomes MAGA, right? So they said that Obama was Akhenaten. And just like Akhenaten, when Akhenaten gets removed, right, from the priesthood, or he gets removed from his position of power, the priesthood that he replaced came in there and scrubbed all of the evidence of him off of the wall, right? They defaced his character. This is the same thing that they did to Obama. This is the same thing that they're doing with the defacing of his character, rebranding him as a homosexual, rebranding Michelle as a transgender, right? And destroying all of his policy plays. And destroying any and everything that's been affiliated or associated with him, specifically his vice president, right? Like, oh, you was the cracker that co-signed this to make this shit happen, to fuck with our fragility, to put us in terror for 8 years, that this nigga might wake up one motherfucking day and go radical? Oh, no, we'll never. Then, right? Because you don't get it. They're trying to say to themselves, as a mental constellation that the only reason that Barack Obama was there was because of DEI. Y'all just don't get it. Y'all just don't get it because you never had to think like a white man. Or you don't have these conversations with them to understand the psychosis of how they think. Right? So these are the reasons that they're clapping back so hard. Right? Because they have to rest their mental. And they have to restore their privilege. Right? And they have to reinvigorate their lie that they told themselves about themselves in order for themselves to exist. Because they're at negative birth rate. So the fragility factor is also kicking in because of the tanning of America. And Obama represents the symbol of what that shit represents because he's a motherfucking mulatto. Or an amalgamation. And they're like, if this is the best of what niggas have to offer, we can't compete. Not like this. So they're like, he's a DEI hire. They're trying to tell themselves, oh, he got into Harvard because he was a DEI hire. They're saying he was a senator because he was a DEI hire. And they're saying that he was president because he was a DEI hire. You know what? We're going to do away with affirmative action. We're going to do with DEI. And we're going to motherfucking do away with civil rights. Because we can't deal with the fragility of having to tell our children and explain to them every fucking single day why their president is black. But I'm telling them that they're superior. So you don't got control of this country no more. That's what their children is telling them. Oh, so you're not the man no more. Cause what man will let a melanated man lead him? What man will let a woman lead him? You better get out there. And what did they say? Daddy's home. That's what they say about Trump. Daddy's home. Because he had to reinvigorate the base and he had to reinstall their privilege. So you got to decide, you want to get caught up in the middle of that? You want to sidestep that shit? Right? Look at this real quick.
And every time we have a movement, natural hair movement, then what we see an influx of baddies, bad girls club, bunch of ditzy bitches on TV with bust downs and makeup. Ooh. But think about that. Natural hair movement. You have to create a movement around showing up as you are naturally. Who you were born. Butt naked, bare bones, no additives. The person who you are needs a movement to be represented. How your hair grows out of your head naturally needs a movement for representation. We don't think about that. This is sick shit they're doing. You're fucking with people's minds. Yep. This is a deep psychological war. Like, we have to have a movement for your hair to grow. Hidden Colors come out. What's next? Drill music. Soon as I learned about Dr. Umar, I learned about Chief Keef. It's the same play every time. We have to get to a place where we're regaining empathy and trust for one another, right? The reason why I say the last 40 years needs to be our focus, because you can look at everything we lost in a dynamic way, and how we relate to each other, how we talk to each other, how we treat each other. If you grow up and you see your mom smoking crack, calling a woman a bitch, that just don't mean nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? If your dad left, even if he got locked up, if he got killed, the anger that comes along with that, if he sold crack or he smoked crack, the anger that comes with not having your pops will make you feel like niggas ain't shit. Man or woman. Shit, my parents done went through a divorce. I ain't see my dad for 3 years. I was mad as shit. Niggas ain't shit. Fuck these niggas. Because a lot of times, a lot of the information we're receiving as children. You know, that's how it starts. Then we get into a place where, like, we're talking progress, right? And I'm going through the comments, you know, because I want us to. I feel like I'm giving you an easy space, right? It's 40 years, right? So even if you was born in 2000, you only go back 20 years before you was born, start doing the knowledge there. You see the effects of it 20 years later. This is a simple task, and niggas are combative about it. They want to still talk about the Hebrew shit. They want to still, and it's like, I'm not dissing you. I'm just saying, lock the fuck in. If we become scholars of the war on drugs, we'll see everything we lost. Then we can go back. Every time we have a movement, natural hair movement.
Yeah, let me say that I love bro's podcast. I love his perspectives. I love his angles. He go hella hard. There's certain clips I haven't shared yet. I'm gonna get around to it. I just gotta have conversations with the people that are gonna be offended, because I know that they're gonna take it personal, and I'm gonna be like, I wasn't trying to diss you by sharing this content, but I kind of feel the same way. You know what I'm saying? I just don't say it as openly in public. You know, I be taking sideways shots at you days. But homie was direct as fuck. And it's such a needed conversation. It's so necessary what he's saying, that can we just focus on the last 40 years? Right? Can we focus on the war on drugs? Can we focus on, really looking at what crack did, so we can finally put that shit to bed and stop glamorizing it and glorifying it, right? And I'm between a rock and a hard place, because like I said, I never sold crack. I always, I look down on crack dealers, drug dealers, but crack dealers in particular, because I'm like, nigga, you get your dick sucked by a crackhead, but you gonna be in the club with me trying to compete for the baddest bitch. You know what I'm saying? You a fucking goofy, my nigga. Like, I just had no respect for these niggas, and I still don't to this day. But some of my favorite rappers is the crack rap era rappers, because the shit that they do with poetry to make such a ugly thing into a beautiful art. As a poet, I'm fucking, I'm I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because they make beautiful music out of one of the ugliest of situations. But I love what bro's been talking about. I love his approach and his angle, and I definitely would love to interview him or be a guest on the podcast so we can speak about the crack era, the crack cocaine era, and the fallacies that come from it, and the shit that we have to push back and challenge to this day. Because we got to understand the soul contracts that we made. Because when you picked up that piece of crack, you automatically turned your back on community. There's no way you can be pro-community and be a crack dealer. So you engage in rugged individualism, middle fingered the struggle, right? Not only did you say, I didn't want to indulge in the struggle no more, I want to aggressively and radically remove myself from the struggle, but you aiding to somebody else's struggle in order for your upward mobility. So you can't build a castle on sand. Everything that I seen purchased with crack money from the 80s and 90s, nothing still stands today. I've never seen an institution that was made from crack money that is still operable today, or strong, or is positive, that has delivered anything for the people. I have not seen it, right? So it was a whole lot of nothing, and I lost an entire generation to this shit. And you sold crack, you sold contract to do the work of the devil, because you're not doing the work of God, right? Selling crack cocaine to zombies. You're not. That's not in the interest of the Most High. That's not the forward progressions of a people. Yeah, if you feeding your family is the only thing that mattered and the only thing that fucking counted, though, I get it. But that's not what it was, right? After the 100 pair of sneakers and all of that fucking slum jewelry niggas bought, they never got around to moving their mamas out the projects, right? And when they did and them niggas caught a bid, mama had to move back to the projects because her crib in Long Island got repossessed. So we never said sorry to one another. We never apologized. We got a heavy soul debt, right? We have heavy karma as a people, and we stay pointing fingers and blaming other people for our motherfucking issues and our clapback and our karmic debt that has to be paid. You didn't do this to nobody else, right? You pulled down from the center on yourself. That's your mamas, your aunties, uncle them, your cuz, your brothers, your sisters. That was your family that you did that to. That was your family that you did that to in the name of crass commercialism, so you can practice femininity in a way that our people never had privileges to do so prior to this. Because we had to do more with less. Now you got more. We had to do more with less. Now you got more and you're doing less. You understand? We had to do more with less. right? You gotta stretch them shit. You got one pair of pants, nigga. 3 people in that household gotta show up in school with that one pair of pants to make that shit look like something. Cause their whole ego and their pride and their identity is tied into their fashion. But we did it. And for some of us, we made that shit fashionable. We made it a statement. But now we got more and we're doing less with it. Now you got 10 pair of fucking pants and now you only wear one. You got 9 extra pairs and them shits never see the light of day. You wearing that same pants like you was selling crack for 3 days straight. Again. But you got about 10 of them just sitting around. They not doing nothing. Right? But you wouldn't lend them out. Little cuz can't get them. Your little bro can't get them and shit. You just like looking at them. You like stacking them up. You like going into that walk-in closet with 200 pair of sneakers in it. And none of them shits look like they've ever been worn out or used. And you think that that's fly. And that's where we at. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I've talked to y'all enough. I don't want to come across preachy. You know? Because like I said, I was a, you know, I was a hoarder. Shit. You know, I would go boost 30 pairs of pieces of clothing. Sell 10 pieces, keep the other 20. Maybe wear 5 of them. Some of them shits laying around with tags on them forever and a day. Now, it's a backup plan. If I need to sell it, I can. If I need to bring it back to the store, I can't even. But it was just too much shit. And you become a pack rat. You become a hoarder. You become a woman. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not a woman, that's not a good place to be. No disrespect to women. But you a man. You know what I'm saying? So you should be a man. Because we need more men out here. You feel me? And men should differentiate between doing the things that men do and the things that women do. You feel me? We don't got a lot of time left. You know? We don't got a lot of time left. Saying you just don't. There's a price to pay for just sleeping on the job. There's a price to pay for sleeping on the job, y'all. We need to be alert, aware, and informed. You know what I'm saying? That we in different times. I wanted to ask this question, like, if we praying for the Pope, who's praying for the people? Because if the Pope is the vicegerent or the vice, or the vicegerent of the Most High or the Godhead on this planet, and he's responsible for keeping shit in order, when the Pope is down, nigga, who's praying for the people? If the people's paying for the Pope. If the people's paying for the Pope, who's paying for the people? And I don't mean to be facetious. I'm just saying, they got the Catholic world in their bag right now because the Pope is on life support. That was called Grits and Eggs. It's a podcast called Grits and Eggs. You know what I'm saying? And bro, it's unapologetic. I'm forewarning you. But it's a dose of realism that, we can't ignore it. It's a conversation that has to be had. And bro is having it, and I'm so delighted that somebody's, punching the way that he's punching, unapologetically. But yeah, man, if the people is praying for the Pope, who's praying for the people? Just a question. I'm asking for a friend. We can move on. Let me keep it moving. This part.
Make sure the lady ejaculation first. And that is very important for men. So when you want woman to ejaculation first, you work on the lady, the clitoris. When the clitoris ejaculation, you make love. And you come up to mysterious gate, it activate, woman close to nearly come, now you make love. And now the woman get clitoris ejaculation and mysterious gate ejaculation. They will activate the uterus. So the uterus orgasm is the third orgasm. So the lady ejaculation first. And that
Look, and I'm not trying to be vulgar or anything. I'm a Scorpio. You guys already know that. And we started this conversation. We were speaking about masculinity and femininity. And if you think, again, just the crass capitalism, consumerism, extra hoarding, right, metrosexualism of melanated men or men in particular, if you thought that that was a problem or evidence that we've been raised in a feminized society, right? You know, masculine, or men in particular, raised in single parent households, normally by their mothers, you know, it's very it's very hard to deny that they've picked up some of these traits, right? Because we can look at the evidence of it and the things that are going on in our community, in our society. So, yeah, somebody said, why are you playing this? My young son watches you. Because young men are being orientated to deal with women, right? They're being educated in spaces that are not necessarily befitting to their education, right? They're being taught the wrong way to do things. And the same way that we get into crash commercialism, the same way that we get into, you know, things that are not necessarily all the way grounded in masculinity, we definitely have not been taught how to deal with women. We've not been taught the science of women. We've not been, and you can never fully appreciate her if you don't know who she is, how she works, or why she works. So I'm sharing this if your son is watching this to say that there's a responsible way, eventually, I would assume, right? And I'm making an assumption, but eventually your son may be engaged in his attraction towards the opposite sex. And he needs to know, right, that there's an entire science that goes to this. He needs to know that there's a majesticness to the women that is not being taught in schools, not being taught in our society. You can't learn it through the music. You know what I'm saying? So there's an entirely different education that's needed and necessary. And if what I played was offensive, my apologies to yourself and to your son. I didn't mean to offend. I just felt that it would be a very good way to end the conversation on a higher note, right? That there's a lot that men need to learn, not only about themselves, but about our divine opposites, especially if we want to unlock, yes, that divinity in their femininity. And I would rather me, yes, connect with them with information that's needed for their mental development before, let's say, Andrew Tate does, or before they are inspired again by the masculinity of this administration. You feel me? And that masculinity is very aggressive, and they're not going to put the woman first. They're not prioritizing her pleasure principles. You feel me? And I think that your son, our sons, myself, right, that the highest form of whatever it is that we're looking to attain can more so easily be accomplished if you have a woman by your side that is loving, supportive, right? And the way that you go about doing that is to make sure that you are focusing on her pleasure principles. You feel me? happy wife, happy life. She has to carry the burden of that child for 9 months. At least you can make sure that she is experiencing pleasure during that period in time where you're unlocking her treasure, right? Make it about her and see the rewards that come out of it. It's not always about you, my nigga. Right? It's not always about you. You got a job and a task to complete, and it's not always about either tapping out first or making her tap out. There's a whole science that comes to this. You know what I mean? And we're going to have to get into our science. We're going to have to learn how to move in different ways. We're going to have to learn how to access different portals of power. We're going to have to learn how to unlock different access zones and things of that nature of where we get our power from and how we manifest things, you know, how we do our magic. So, my apologies. But conversation that we have to have. Right? I think that what you're saying, Latoya, she said most of us, quote unquote, black women have never been, or you said ever, have never been handled with that level of love and care. Exactly, right? We were not taught that approach. We was not taught the priority in our exchange. We was not taught the methodology of how to prioritize you. You know what I'm saying? We was never taught that. And how else are we going to go about? So the orientation that young men are participating in or experiencing is via porn. And that's emphasizing, you know what I mean? Waka, 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 waka. You know? And yeah, we're in order to get in front of the things that have gotten out of control in society, right, and have run off the track, it's just no way that we're going to do that by doing the same things that we have been doing. We need to reverse engineer and look at everything that we've been doing and saying what needs to be redone. What do we need to revisit? Yes. And I'm in proximity to young men, and the breakdown that I always see, right? And then, you know, the women in our community be reaching out and attempting to reason with us so we can speak to their baby fathers and things of that nature to bring them back into the fold, because a lot of these young men cut out when the woman is either pregnant or right after she gives birth. Within those first 6 months, that's when the calamity occurs. And there's a disconnect, because I'm hearing it from younger men. I'm hearing it from men that are like in my age range. They're very unfamiliar with the changes that women go through. You know what I'm saying? And they don't know how to necessarily filter it. So a lot of times they just cut out. You know what I mean? A lot of times they cut out. And there's things that they tell me, you know, some of the stories sound the same, some of them are different. But I'm like, if we want to get in front of these things, right, and we want to bring that appreciation factor back, and, you know, really, like, I've been learning so much recently, you know, and I think it really came from going to the gym and seeing the resilience of women, seeing the consistency, seeing the focus of them, seeing how much warrior that they do have in them without being frontline warriors, you know. And I'm not saying that they can't go to the front line. I'm saying they shouldn't go to the front line if there's fucking men around. But just in case a nigga, if there's not no men around, I'm seeing some women that can defend themselves, right? I'm seeing some women that have been left with no fucking choice but to defend themselves. But I see that they are ample, they're able, right? Unfortunate that they have to be doing the shit that they're doing for themselves. But I'm just like, I just reevaluate my appreciation for the divine feminine, or just for femininity, period. And it's not from like, this is not me saying, yeah, you know, I'm extra sexually attracted to you know, no, I have a wife, right? And I still can increase my appreciation for femininity without being attracted to every woman that I see. You know what I'm saying? I just see them different. And I'm just like, yo, it's just time to reevaluate our relationships. It's time to reevaluate the conversation around our relationships. You know what I mean? And there's just so much more to learn about women that men have no idea about. And I don't know if it's like we haven't taken the time to figure it out. We're not asking the right questions. We have not put them in positions where they can unravel and unfurl their true powers. I don't know if they have been in that position. You know what I'm saying? But I'm seeing shit. I'm seeing a lot. And I'm impressed. And I'm as a nexus of power in our community dynamic, right? There's a lot of power in them. There's a lot of power in them. And we should be a lot further as a people if we have such powerful women amongst us. And I think that the emphasis has just been on the power of men for so long, right? And there hasn't been a strong contingency of men that are not intimidated by the power of women long enough for us to see what she's truly capable of, right? Or, you know, your ego could be set aside where you can get out the way long enough for her to do her shit and you be supportive of it. I have not seen a lot of support for the dynamics of women unfurling their power, the true dynamics of their power in the here and now. And this shit is fully supported where it's like, I'm frontlining as security while you back here getting your shit together and doing your magic. And can't nobody pierce this perimeter while you doing your due. Whether that's raising children, whether that's goddamn, preparing the meal, you feel me? Whether that's her getting into her intellect and her mentalism, because she got it too. Whether that's her getting into her art, you whatever. Okay, a lot of women don't recognize the divinity within themselves, so it's not being taught to the children because they don't see it represented enough. I can agree that there may be some truth to that, right? But again, if you're being taught the divinity in her, and you are still able to look at her with a level of compassion, and we kind of lack that, especially in the online space. From what I've seen, I never saw I never saw this much vehemence, right? I never saw this much vehemence towards women and their accomplishments. It's like, why would a nigga get in this feeling because a woman is accomplished? Why would a man get in this feeling because a woman want to aspire towards accomplishments? That shit is supposed to be supportive. It's supposed to be supported. You know what I'm saying? But I know some people that just have some, it's tangled. Like, their emotions are tangled because of their experiences, and they're either unwilling to forget it or they're just unable to heal from it to a degree where they can allow themselves to have a new experience that can, oscillate the lower frequency of the bad experience. You have to replace these experiences. You got to box out the low with the high. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, somebody said you got to practice what you preach, and that's a daily exercise, right? That's a daily exercise. That's unlearning to relearn. Because yes, we were taught very dysfunctional ways to deal with the opposite sex. We were taught very dysfunctional ways to deal with our own sexuality in terms of, weaponizing this shit, pimping it out. You know what I'm saying? Do all of these things, like, we were taught, it was drilled into us. Like, we wasn't even just taught, it was drilled into us. They hit us in every direction possible. Feel me? So we're catching these cues from unfamiliar places to reteach ourselves to do these things, but there's no centralized place that people are going to get educated like this. So we're churning out young men that are emotionally responsible, totally taught in the science of how to please a woman. Like that, where are we being taught this? Right? Thank God for the fucking internet. You know, yeah, I think I come here and I learn shit. I don't know. People be up in arms and shit. I've learned a great deal from my exposure to the internet, even social media. You know? So you gotta take the bitter with the sweet. Yeah, it's, you know, you gotta strike a perfect balance between the ratchet and the righteous. And that's what the internet has to offer. You know? So let's not just put our faces in these places just to be seen, right? But what are we extracting? What are we learning? And then what are we passing on? You know, if you learn something, you know, teach it. You know what I mean? Drop a gem on somebody. Pay it forward, right? Let's keep it going. We are all responsible for one another in that respect. If you on my downline, on my timeline, we got a level of responsibility for one another. You know how I know? Because if I put a post up and I was like, yo, I'm just not doing so well today and I'm having a terrible mood, there will be people all up in my comment section telling me to you know, get better, or, you know, get my mind right, or they got me, or can they help? And you know what I'm saying? So we show up for one another. You know, we're not bots. We're actually human beings. We got feelings. We can reason. You know what I'm saying? We're resourceful. It's not asking too much of someone just to say, acknowledge that we are in this space together. It don't mean that you got to go through everything that I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? It just means that we can humanize this experience to say, yo, I'm only here because of my appreciation for people. So I'm not trying to be more of a robot and more of a machine. I want to become more of a person. I want to become more humane in my activity and how I utilize these apparatuses to connect with other people's heart chakras. So with that being said, I want to say thank you once again for sharing some time. Yeah, let's break these cycles. Let's create new ones, you know? And again, be the change that you want to see, so someone who sees you that wants to change can know how to go about doing it. All right? And with that, I want to say peace.